Welcome to Wayfinder. Wayfinder is a new online MMORPG that is going to end up being free to play sometime in 2024. But right now, you will be able to buy your way into the game with early access founders packs. There's going to be various price options for that. I've got another video that covers it. Today, I get to finally talk about this game because I've been under a strict NDA. Both when I was playing the beta of this game, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And more recently, I was able to access this game 3 days earlier than its release, which has allowed me to stock up tons of recording, tons of guides and videos that I'm going to end up having for you guys on the channel. But what exactly is Wayfinder? Well, the closest example I can give you guys is that it's similarly structured to Warframe. So there's going to be tons of resources and items that you'll end up gathering from various specific enemies. And even though we're in kind of the main hub area right now, there's currently 2 different main aspects of the game. But most of the game is going to take place here at the gateway. So when we end up interacting with the portal, we'll be able to select the dungeon first. There's bosses, and then there's kind of I don't want to call it bosses, but more like a challenge map. The point is that you might end up going to specifically farm the Grand Deceiver Maris over and over again so that you could get specific resources so that you could craft certain weapons. But the thing is, if any area ends up becoming too easy, we can go and select the sphere, which essentially cranks up the difficulty of said area. And then these 2 little modifications right here, this is going to end up being the imbuements. What these are going to do is they're going to end up significantly changing the enemies and some of the instances of the dungeons themselves. Like the greed one makes it so that gold drops all over the place. The chaos one makes random explosions happen all over the place, if I recall. But more specifically, you would go to the shadow imbued area so that you could get shadow drops from the enemies and from the environment. You'll see that we can only have a limited amount of people with us. So in this case, a party of 3, which kind of is where the Warframe aspect of the game comes in. Due to balancing and so on and so forth, the game kind of limits the amount of players that you can take into the mainline dungeons. So if we go to the Arsenal Merchant here, you can see that we can buy the basic starting weapons of most classes for gold, or we can get into the weapon crafting. Now, by default, as far as I know, the character that you have crafted is going to end up having their default class weapon. But you can actually use any different weapon that you want so long as you actually own them. So similar to Warframe, the class character has their own set of abilities, but then the weapon that you use on that character will have its own unique abilities as well. The funny thing is that you can see we've got the Grim Harvest, but we don't have Grim Harvest Shell, Grim Harvest Form, Grim Harvest Spirit. These are going to essentially be the 3 crafting components that are required in order to craft the weapon itself, as you can see. The point being is that this is all free to play obtainable. It's just really, really difficult. Versus if I pull up the cash shop here, you'll see that we do actually have access to all of the weapons. Now, again, the version that I'm playing of this game right now, this is a press account. So you guys will see as I start playing this game, I'm not going to have access to all this stuff. This is just for the sake of making content for you guys so that I can explain all of this stuff. So I don't know what the price of all of these are because they're already owned on this account. Now there's a couple other things down here in the merchant area. Namely, there's different potions and different, armor pieces that you can end up acquiring that don't necessarily end up changing the cosmetics of your character. It's more artifacts that you equip to your character that will end up giving you different passive buffs and abilities and stuff. But let's head over to the Great Lift. This is the Highlands, and this is going to be the expansive giant map area that we can end up exploring with any number of players. So if I open up my map here, you can see it kind of starts out a little bit small, but it gets a lot bigger the further out we end up going. So we can end up getting quests, we can fight random mobs with random players and stuff like that. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of the game, I would say, in terms of like the fun aspect of the game. Like the dungeon crawling is all good, but that's kind of a laser focused, okay, this is designed this way. This area is a little bit more chaotic, and so I enjoy it much, much more. Now, that said, there is still going to end up being dungeons and areas that you'll unlock at the portal by finding them here first. And despite the fact that this area is so big, there is a significant amount of fast travel points where we can end up getting around. So if I end up just warping over here to show you guys as an example. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because one of the founders packs of this game actually gives you access to a mount, but mounts aren't currently in the game. And the developers have talked about how they are going to add an area to the game that is going to actually warrant having mounts. Because as of right now, this area is massive, but it's designed around our basic character's movements. So it's not really too problematic to end up exploring here. With all of that said, is Wayfinder worth early access? I think so. I'm very excited about this game. Kind of the quick, easy ballpark pitch, I would say, is obviously it's got a lot of similarities to Warframe, but oddly enough, really reminds me of this classic game on Steam called Spiral Knights. I know that that might seem like just out of left field and very weird. At the very least, if you're unsure of whether or not you think this is a game for you, get the $20 pack. It's quick, it's easy, and for the most part, I think that you're going to get your money's worth with $20. Like, you're more than likely going to end up having a lot of fun with this game. And if you ever wanted to, you could just slowly upgrade your founders pack further and further into the future, so long as you continually play the game.